Hey guys, Tearless here with another Warlords of Draenor beta video. This is probably going to be the shortest of any class change video, as there is not much going on with Destruction Warlocks in Warlords of Draenor. I'm going to be looking at the major changes to Destruction Warlocks, their new changed and removed abilities, their new glyphs, their new Draenor perks, and then finally their new and changed talents. Probably the biggest change to Destruction Warlocks in Warlords of Draenor is the fact that Fel Flame has been removed. Blizzard wanted to cut down on the mobility of casters, and so Warlocks got hit in that Fel Flame and has been removed, and Kill Jaden's Cunning has been changed. We'll get to that when we get to the actual talents portion, but Fel Flame has been removed. You will no longer be able to use it. I kind of feel like this hits destruction more than the other two specs in the Warlock arsenal, so it's kind of a big deal. Another major change to Warlocks in general really is a reduction in their raid utility. This comes in two forms. The first is demonic gateways can now only be used every 90 seconds, up from 45 seconds, and it can only be placed 40 yards away as opposed to 70 yards. So a big nerf there to demonic gateways and the utility it provides. Second form of reduction in raid utility comes in Healthstones, in that they can no longer crit, and their cooldown will not reset until a player leaves combat. So major nerf there to Healthstones. Blizzard just felt that Warlocks had too much power and raid utility, and so they really cut down on demonic gateways and Healthstones. There's one new ability for Warlocks in Warlords of Draenor, and that is Blood Pact, like the old Imp ability brought back. It's just kind of a merging of abilities together. It takes from Dark Intent the 10% stamina to all nearby party and raid members, and then it takes from Fel Armor the increase of your own stamina by an additional 10% and all healing you receive by 10%. So it's just kind of an all-in-one buff given to Warlocks in Warlords of Draenor. Several changed abilities. Know that Dark Intent now grants 5% multi-strike instead of 10% stamina. Shadow Burn will not restore any mana. This shouldn't be a problem. You restore mana so quickly anyways, this really shouldn't be a problem. Fell Hunter and Observer, their Spell Lock and Optic Blast no longer silences an enemy, it just interrupts them. This is in line with all of the blanket silences in the game. They've all been removed, so don't worry about this too much. You're not being nerfed in comparison to other classes. Know that a Succubus and Shivara, their Seduction and Mesmerize, now has 30-second cooldowns each. So big nerf to those two, crowd control abilities. Seer Magic's cooldown has been increased to 30 seconds from 20 seconds. That's the, I believe, Fel Imp ability. And know that a Terror Guard no longer will cast Terrifying Roar when it dies. There are several removed abilities from a Destruction's arsenal. Pyroclasm has been removed, but don't worry, its effects have been just put into backdraft. So it's just a merging of abilities. Curses have been pretty much eliminated from the game. Curse of Elements is gone, and then Curse of Enfeeblement has been removed. Curse of Exhaustion, all those curses that were in the game have been removed from Warlocks as a whole. Fel Armor, as I mentioned earlier, has been removed, and it's just been put straight into Blood Pact. Pandemic has been removed. That was the passive, refreshing your periodic damage effects. Duration remaining on the previous effect was added to the new one. Twilight Ward was removed, so you no longer have that shadow or holy damage reduction. Drain Life is now available only to Affliction and Demonology. Corruption, if you use it or not, it's no longer part of a Destruction's arsenal. And Voidwalker lost both Disarm, and same thing with the Voidlord. They both lost Disarm. This is in line with all Disarms, just like, Blanket Silences. Those have just been eliminated from the game. So, it's really a nerf that happened to everyone, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. There are two new glyphs for Destruction Warlock. The first of these is going to be the Glyph of Dark Soul. It reduces the duration and cooldown of Dark Soul by 50%. And then there's Glyph of Strength and Resolve, which Unending Resolve reduces damage taken by an additional 20%, but its cooldown is increased by 60 seconds. Know that it is exclusive with Glyph of Unending Resolve and Glyph of Eternal Resolve. That means that you can only use one or the other. You cannot use both. You cannot have all three active, or even two of them active at the same time on your Glyph bar. You can only have one of them. That brings us to the Draenor perks of a Destruction Warlock. They honestly don't have really good perks, kind of disappointing. They have Empowered Immolate, which your Immolate deals 100% additional damage when it initially strikes a target. There's Enhanced Chaos Bolt. Your cast time on your Chaos Bolt has been reduced by 0.5 seconds. That one's not bad. Enhanced Ember Tap. Your Ember Tap also heals your pet demon for 20% as much. Considering that there is Grimoire of Sacrifice in your talent tree, I really don't like this, because if you take that, this becomes worthless. I kind of wish there was an ability that would, make things more beneficial to you, but there is not. And then lastly, there's Enhanced Havoc. It reduces the cooldown of Havoc by 5 seconds. Pretty small one there. So that's everything dealing with the Draenor perks, and that leaves us with just the talents of a Destruction Warlock. There's a lot of changes in the talent tree, so I'm going to go through them from top to bottom. First, you should know that Soul Leech no longer applies to the abilities that have been removed from the game, so like Fell Flame, etc. They're no longer in the tooltip, so just a small reminder that you should know. Searing Flames is a new ability that causes Ember Tap to do 50% more healing and refund 50% of its burning ember cost. They had to replace the old Harvest Life, since you no longer have Drain Life. So Searing Flames and Ember Tap are going to be your big healing options as a Destruction Warlock. I actually really like Searing Flames. That's what I've been using out in Ashran. Really enjoy it, so I think it should be pretty good. And when you pair it with one of the level 100 talents, I mean, you have a lot of burning embers to play with, so it's not a bad choice. On the 30 tier, Howl of Terror is here. It's been removed as a baseline ability. Demonic Breath has been removed, so you have Howl of Terror here. Mortal Coil shares diminishing returns with all mesmerize effects. So, for instance, a Succubus's Seduction shares a diminishing return with Mortal Coil. Know that. On the level 60 tier, know that Blood Horror had its cooldown doubled. It is now a 1 minute cooldown. And it also shares diminishing returns with all other mesmerize effects. When picking through the talent tree for a Destruction Warlock, really any Warlock, I think Warlocks more than any other have a lot of diminishing returns, kind of grouped together with all of their different CCs. So really being able to mitigate how easily you achieve a diminishing return is going to be key to how you spec down your talent tree. Unbound Will also had its cooldown doubled. It's now a 2 minute cooldown as opposed to a 1 minute cooldown. On the level 75 tier, know that Grimoire of Sacrifice used to just apply to any single target damage. Now it only applies to Incinerate, Chaos Bolt, and Shadow Burn. The damage increase is what I'm in reference to. Only those 3 abilities. On the level 90 tier, I already started to hint at this. Killjaden's Cunning has basically been changed to a Spirit Walker's Grace for Warlocks. You have 8 seconds of being able to cast spells while on the move, and you have a 1 minute cooldown on it. I know a lot of people are disappointed in this change, but that is what has been brought forth from Blizzard to reduce the amount of mobility that casters have in Warlords of Draenor. Know that melee are being balanced around this, and boss fights are being balanced around this, so you will not be able to, it's not going to affect you as bad as you may think. And any of the high mobility fights, in Siege of Orgrimmar. Those kinds of fights just won't exist in Warlords of Draenor, so don't be too concerned about it. If you're worried about your boss fights and how much you're gonna have to move, don't be, because they're changing the boss fights to accommodate this more. That leaves us with the level 100 tier. The right side ability I don't think is very good for Destruction Warlocks. So Demonic Servitude, you are now able to maintain control over your greater demons indefinitely, allowing you to summon Doom Guards and Infernals as permanent pets. Kind of cool, but it's not very great for Destruction Warlocks in my opinion. Probably the greatest and most popular one is Charred Remains. Incinerate and Conflagrate deal 60% less damage, but generate 200% more burning embers, and Fire and Brimstone can now affect Chaos Bolt. This is pretty cool, okay? I'm going to go ahead and just build up my burning embers here. You can see how quickly I build up my embers. It's pretty darn quickly. And then I'm going to go ahead and pop Fire and Brimstone when I get up to the top here. And you can see me use Chaos Bolt, and it hits all the targets. Now you see the visual has been downgraded for Chaos Bolt. That's just for Fire and Brimstone. It's because it was absurd, you know, with how ornate the Chaos Bolt animation is. They did not want to have those flying over the place. Trust me, I was in Oshron and there were like 12 of them firing off, and it was really annoying. So you can see the normal visual is still there when you cast it singly, but with Fire and Brimstone, they've downgraded the visual so it's not, you know, blinding you in the face with all the, you know, Chaos Bolts flying over the place. There were times in which you'd see almost 10 Chaos Bolts flying towards targets, and it was really annoying to see, to be honest. So that's actually a really cool change, you know, being able to have, you know, those massive Chaos Bolts fly all over the place. So I really like it, and it gives you some burst potential, the fact that you can, you know, do that. I mean, you can just see all the damage that comes out there. It's going to be really fun on mass AoE fights and raids too. The last change is to Cataclysm. Change. The last new talent is Cataclysm, which conjures a Cataclysm at the target location, dealing 4600 Shadow Flame damage to all enemies within 8 yards and applying Immolate. This is actually pretty effective considering the abilities that are, you know, does 50% more of this when affected by Immolate. It kind of gives you a way to put Immolate on everyone. The only problem is that it's got a really noticeable graphic that people can run out of. But I'll show you here. It's really cool spell visual here. But I think it's pretty decent, and I've seen, you know, in a large scale like tug of war battleground like Oshron, people tend to not bother moving out of the way. So you're able to get one of those off, but I think for PvP, Charred Remains is better, and then possibly for PvE it may be Cataclysm, though it may also be Charred Remains depending on the fight, etc., you know, what it's going to be. Anyways, that is everything dealing with Destruction Warlocks. They have really nice level 100 talents, probably some of the best level 100 talents out there, but the rest is just, there's not much changed. So if you really liked how Destruction Warlocks ran before, don't be worried that, you know, Warlords of Draenor is going to mess it up, because it's not. It's going to keep it pretty much the same. However, you know, most of the changes, Fell Flame is probably the biggest change to Destruction Warlocks. Well, that's everything for Destruction Warlocks. I will see you guys in the next video. Tearless out.